Welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Krayden. When we come back, sure sounds like treason to me.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
Yes, please like the station and give us a thumbs up. Ring the bell so we beat Trudeau's censorship. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. The numbers are a little lower than usual, but that's because YouTube is doing its usual suppression of this station. Thank you for your continued support. We're well over 25,000, on our way to 30, and we're going to keep moving upwards. But I wanted to revisit this story because it just gets worse with each passing day. And I talked about this week already, but it's the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, NSICOP, I think they call it NSICOP, or it's supposedly a nonpartisan group, and it seems to be that's exactly what it is, from what I can gather. But they have uncovered a bombshell talking about widespread espionage going on from elected officials. That's the phrase they use. In one part of the report, they also say that this espionage, this spying for foreign powers, has been undertaken by MPs and senators. And senators are not elected officials, but they're certainly officials. And so we're trying to get to the bottom of this, but it is extremely arcane because it's hard to believe that the government can't name these people without violating the Official Secrets Act and national security. And so before I get to the clips that I want to show you, here is what the director of CSIS, David Mignon, Canadian Security Intelligence Service, I'm assuming everybody knows what CSIS is. And he suggested to a parliamentary committee on Thursday that party leaders could simply disallow any of these MPs suspected of collusion or espionage, they're not going to get collusion, from running for the party again, or expel them from caucus over the allegations they cooperated with foreign states like China and India. Once again, this is an article from the mainstream media. They don't want to say espionage or spying. So Vigneault says, if you're not able to find accountability and create an element of deterrence through a judicial process, then there are other mechanisms that have been referred to, including for the leaders to have the information and make decisions. Vigneault sounds like a politician to me. So we can't name these people. I think Canadians have a right to know how widespread this is, how many MPs are implicated, at least how many. Yeah, we should know their names. Don't give me this nonsense that they're just not going to get renominated in the next election. And they'll be quietly put out to pasture. But here's how the mainstream media is reporting the story. And it's not bad. Let's listen to this. This is a typical.
It's a report the Liberals really don't want to talk about.
Minister LeBlanc, can we talk to you about the NSICOP report for a second?
Mr. Arya, can I ask you about the NSICOP report?
But one Liberal is speaking. David McGuinty, the chair of a parliamentary national security committee that released the damning report. Federal politicians are allegedly colluding with other countries by accepting money, revealing secrets, even meeting with a known intelligence officer of a foreign state.
We have gone as far as we can.
McGuinty says he and his colleagues can't name names because the committee is bound by Canada's official secrets law.
That means if they inadvertently reveal information, they can be prosecuted.
Conservative MP Michael Chong, whose own family was targeted by China, wants the veil of secrecy lifted.
I can't believe the following needs to be said. Parliamentarians' duty is not to a foreign state, but to the people of Canada. Simple question. Will the Prime Minister release the names of these parliamentarians?
No government, including the government of which he was a member, is going to discuss particularities of intelligence information publicly.
The RCMP says it's aware of a, quote, broad range of information being collected on foreign interference as it conducts multiple active investigations. But the Mounties say they did not receive information regarding all the matters contained in that bombshell report and only learned about them after its release. Farah?
Taria Isri in Ottawa. Thank you, Taria.
Not a bad report. It goes to show you it's getting some traction with the mainstream media. As soon as I saw this revelation earlier in the week, I said, this is probably the biggest Canadian spy scandal since Igor Guzenko was revealed to be part of a nest of Soviet spies in the Soviet embassy in the early 1950s. I think it was 1952 that one transpired. So it's absolutely scandalous that we have MPs that are willing to sell their country out. For what? I don't know how much money are they getting? Are they getting financial gifts? Are they being blackmailed? And of course, once you do pay somebody for espionage services, you can then blackmail them. So for the cost of the initial investment, you get a lot more return on your blackmail money. I'll phrase it that way. And that's exactly what's happened here. But it's hard to believe that this is just sort of being passed off with a Liberal government. Let's hear what the Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland, had to say about this.
Do you believe that the MPs who collaborated with the foreign powers should be excluded from the nomination process for the next election?
The Minister of Public Safety has been at committee today and answered questions extensively on the report. Our government takes foreign interference very seriously, and law enforcement is working hard on this issue as well.
Okay, so yes, you expect them to say that they take foreign interference really seriously in the Liberal government, probably because there's been so much of it. This is not the first inkling we've had about foreign interference. We still haven't resolved the election interference. And what is interesting about this whole scandal is that it does reveal that foreign powers expect a quid pro quo. This is in the report. That if an MP does something for China, China expects to get rewarded, and vice versa. So if China was using MPs to further Chinese interests, they're going to find some way to reward that MP. Now, how many of these MPs were on the government side? I think it's quite clear that that's probably where most, if not all of them, came from. Because if you're a foreign power looking to establish influence with another government, you're probably going to be working with government MPs, maybe even cabinet ministers. Did you find Chrystia Freeland just a little bit more twitchy than usual there? I don't know if she's one of the MPs. I don't know any more about this than anybody else right now outside of the Prime Minister's office who saw the unredacted report. And I'm assuming the MPs on this committee saw the unredacted report. But this is all being treated with such kid gloves, it's enough to make you sick. Let's listen to some more here.
I direct the following questions to Minister LeBlanc. The NSCOP report that was recently released reveals that parliamentarians, including members of our House and the House of Commons, knowingly and deliberately assisted a hostile foreign state to the detriment of the people of Canada. This places a cloud of suspicion over every single member of the House, elected members. Do you know the names of these people?
Mr. Chair, through you to Mr. Caputo, thank you for the question. I am updated regularly, and I think in a complete way, by our intelligence agencies, by the RCMP, by the Department of Public Safety. So I am very comfortable that I have the information that I need to do the work that I have to do, but you'll understand that discussing the details, particularly of the most sensitive information, is not something that we want to do publicly.
Well, I'm not asking you to discuss sensitive information. I'm asking whether you know the names. Do you know the names, yes or no?
I know a number of names that were surfaced in various intelligence products that I have seen, but I was not in the room when the Committee of Parliamentarians did their work. I don't have the exact details of which documents they saw and didn't see, but I'm very comfortable that I have access to all of the most important intelligence information, which would include, in some cases, names.
Okay, so people who are alleged, and in some cases, according to our intelligence community.
I'll just pause it there for a minute. Is this man capable of giving a yes or a no answer? Does he know who these MPs / possibly senators are? Does he know the names? Can he say yes or no to that? Instead of saying, I think I have all the information at my disposal that I need to do my job. What a stupid response that is. Now, clearly, he must know these names, or he doesn't know the name. Does he know them all, or does he know some of them? He won't provide a coherent response, and it really, really, really bothers me.
Communities to have committed some of the most serious offenses known to Canadian law. Are you prepared to release those names, yes or no?
No, Mr. Chair.
You will not release the names of members, elected members, operating in the House of Commons. Do you think Canadians have a right to know, yes or no?
Mr. Chair, I think it's important for Canadians to understand that these names are contained in intelligence reports. In some cases, it's uncorroborated or unverified intelligence information. I think we would need to be very careful to understand that, as the director himself has said, intelligence is often a series of pieces of a puzzle. One particular piece of the puzzle, an intelligence source or information, may not have a context, may be discredited or altered by subsequent information. So the idea that there's a perfect list of names that is entirely reliable that should be released to the public is simply irresponsible.
Minister, the NSICOP report doesn't equivocate like you just did. The NSICOP report is clear, incredibly clear on names. Do you think Canadians should have the right to know?
Not actually clear on names.
I'm not done my question, Minister. Do you think Canadians have the right to know when they go to cast an X next to the name of somebody in the next 15 months, the very thing that we're dealing with here in Bill C-70, do you think they have the right to know whether their member is under the influence of a hostile foreign state? Yes or no?
Mr. Chair, I think Canadians know, and I'm confident that they have every reason to be reassured that our intelligence agencies and the RCMP take their responsibilities extraordinarily seriously, have the resources necessary to investigate, and should the RCMP, for example, in their wisdom, decide that charges should be laid in consultation with the appropriate prosecutors, that's our system in a rule of law democracy. It's not simply releasing a series of names or doing, as Mr. Caputo says he's concerned about, casting aspersions himself on everybody by pretending that there's some perfect list of names that the government's not releasing. No other Western democracy knows this, and Mr. Caputo knows that certainly in the government of Mr. Harper, even that kind of conversation wouldn't have been conceivable. So I think there's a certain disingenuous element, Mr. Chair, in Mr. Caputo's theatrics this morning.
Disingenuous element. Under Mr. Harper's government, we did not get a report that said foreign state actors had infiltrated. Under Mr. Harper's government, we did not have reports saying that foreign state actors had dealt with this. Now, under current legislation, you can disclose top secret information when in the public interest. What would be more in the public interest than a person who could be elected, and they are under the thumb of a hostile state actor. You can do that. So when you talk about disingenuous, you can do this. Why won't you before the next election?
Mr. Chair, speaking of disingenuous, in Mr. Harper's government, the National Security Committee of Parliamentarians didn't exist because Mr. Harper's government didn't believe that parliamentarians should have access to this information or be able to review the work of our intelligence agencies. Mr. Harper's government in 2013, CSIS publicly identified an increasing risk of foreign interference in our democratic institutions, and the Harper government did absolutely nothing. So again, Mr. Chair, I think it's important to have a context to these comments.
So you are okay with us going into an election, people putting an X beside a name where they have a cloud of suspicion, every single one of us. Let's face it, Minister, I think if there were six Conservatives on that list and no other Liberals, we would have had the names. Let's be honest here.
Thank you, Mr. Caputo. The Minister
pardon
may
me,
answer.
I think I have another minute here.
No, you don't.
No? Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
The Minister may answer if you wish.
Mr. Chair, again, Mr. Caputo makes something up. If there were 6 Conservatives and no other political parties, of course we would release the list. Mr. Chair, I'm not going to violate the Security of Information Act and risk prosecution for a political stunt, and I think Mr. Caputo knows better.
So what does this have to do with the government of Prime Minister Stephen Harper? Absolutely nothing. Even the Liberals are caught red-handed, even when they're holding the bag. It's got something to do with the previous government. Now, this is clearly scandalous. And I don't for a minute think there's 6 Conservative names on that list. I don't know how many there are, but you can bet your bottom dollar that this is implicating the government, the Liberals, because that's who's running the government right now. And that's who foreign actors would most likely target. That should be painfully obvious, even to somebody of Mr. LeBlanc's intellectual capabilities, who seems to be, once again, obfuscating and pretending and skating on very thin ice. This is a huge embarrassment for this country. And we need to know, and where is the Prime Minister right now? And does this further my point that I have repeatedly made on this broadcast, that there is something sinister about allowing 2 Chinese spy scientists to continue working at a top secret biolab in Winnipeg for 2 years before they were fired, right before a federal election that we know Justin Trudeau benefited from Chinese assistance with. We know the Liberals were helped by China in that election. Was that a quid pro quo that the Chinese owed to Justin Trudeau because Trudeau did nothing to shut down the espionage going on at this biolab? These are answers. These are questions we need answers to, because this is serious behavior. I've got another clip here from Freeland. You can't tell me these people aren't really worried about this.
List of politicians that hasn't been made public from the report on foreign interference. And the question is your government prepared to send voters to the polls without knowing if the person that they're voting for is colluding with a foreign power?
Okay. Thank you for the question. And let me start by saying our government takes foreign interference in Canada, in Canadian democracy, very seriously. We have put in place more tools to fight foreign interference than any previous government. Our colleague, the Minister of Public Safety, testified extensively on this issue to the House of Commons Committee yesterday. One of the things he said, which I'd like to reinforce, is that law enforcement bodies of jurisdiction are seized of the issue.
a quick answer to that question?
Please don't put words in my mouth. Let me be clear. We take foreign interference in Canadian democracy very seriously, as I think do all Canadians. I think we all know how precious our democracy is, how lucky we are to live in a democracy, and that this is a time in the world when democracy is under threat. That's why our government has put in place enhanced tools to fight foreign interference in Canada. That's important, and we've done that. Our colleague, the Minister of Public Safety, testified at length before the House of Commons Committee yesterday about this issue. Among other things, he said that the appropriate law enforcement bodies are seized of the issue, and I have nothing to add today beyond that.
So there she is, skating, tap dancing around the issue here. They don't want to tell us anything. And they're refusing to provide basic answers here. Now, as we heard from the Conservative member in the last clip with Dominic LeBlanc, if an issue is in the public interest, then these names can be revealed. But the government does not want to make an issue out of this. They don't want to reveal these names. And I think something is really rotten here. And this is, I don't know if this is the scandal that's going to bring down this Liberal government, because I believe this is connected to election interference. It's connected to the biolab scandal. I think this is all interconnected. And that's been my point from the beginning of this. This is not an isolated incident. This is not an isolated report. This is emblematic of a larger problem in Canadian government: corruption with a capital C. And this is why the Liberals don't want to address this at all right now. They want to pretend there's nothing to see here, nothing to talk about, not an issue at all. But it is. Thank you for watching today. I will be back again tomorrow with more. And just a reminder here, I haven't mentioned this yet, but in a week from today, there will be a rally on Parliament Hill to protest Pride season in Canada and the flying of the Pride flag at schools and at the Prime Minister's office as well. So there will be a protest in front of Parliament Hill a week from today. I will be the master of ceremonies at that protest. It'd be a pleasure to lend my assistance and support. Thank you for watching today again, and I've got more coming for you tomorrow. Thank you for watching this episode of Stand on Guard and being a part of the KRAYDEN'S Right channel. If you've watched this episode to this point, you've watched it all, and that's really important for a small station like this. We always say subscribe, hit the bell, be a part of the KRAYDEN resistance. Resolve to resist. That's what we're doing. And if you become a subscriber, if you're a supporter of this station or a member through Substack, through YouTube, and now you can be a local as well, that's so important to us, because I couldn't do this without you. I made a decision to become an independent journalist about a year ago because I wanted to bring all of my experience in the military, in journalism, to you. I don't promise anything I can't deliver. I don't offer clickbait. I offer truth. The truth is out there, and it's my job to bring that truth to light and to you. Thanks for being a part of the KRAYDEN'S Right resistance, and we'll see you again soon.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need a political change, but we also need to resolve